Many people who have seen the observations of Dr. Kyne in the remake have come to the same conclusion as Dr. Mercer, with the hive mind being immune to the marker's reach of influence, and there are two forces controlling the Necromorphs. However, in this video, I will show you as to how this is not to be the case, and the connection between the marker and the Necromorphs, going into detail as to how the Necromorphs operate with the marker signal aiding them. In Dr. Kyne's log, known as the Nexus Organism, he goes into detail on some of his own observations of the Necromorphs, stating, do the marker and the hive mind always coordinate? Or can the hive mind slip the marker's influence somehow? Regardless if this theory is correct, if the two are now at odds, if the marker can quell the hive mind, it would cut the puppeteer's strings at a stroke. It seems obvious in retrospect. These Necromorphs have no intelligence. How could they? Yet there's a clear, if rudimentary, purpose behind their actions, especially the gathering of corpses. They are clearly following some drive to kill living organisms and gather biomass. But where does this drive come from? How does it command them? Do all Necromorphs converted by a marker share this bond, pack instinct? Or is the hive mind demonstrating a genuine telepathic communication? Perhaps the first ever observed. Now, if we look at the text log, we can see that Dr. Kyne is asking these questions to himself, not directly stating them as fact, meaning he doesn't know what the truth is, but is merely guessing, creating a theory, as stated in the log, on what the connection is between the marker and the hive mind and the Necromorphs, and the clash between the two titans. But he is in fact wrong about the connection, and it is a different story altogether. What we learned in Dead Space 3 was the master signal travels to the markers, scattered across the galaxy or even the universe. Once connected to the signal, however, the marker will spread it throughout the nearby area. With it becoming a weaker signal, the signal will travel outward to dead cells of any organic life form, such as humans and anything that shares in the genetic structure, including fecal matter, as that too contains dead cells. With the deceased morphing and even merging into one another, the cells turn necrotic, which is under the genetic influence of the marker, but not the direct control. The Necromorphs all contain an instinct that Dr. Kyne does refer to, however it is more likely one that is shared in the Halo universe, with the Flood, that being the first stage prior to building a proto-grave mind, the feral stage, where the Flood will infect any and all life in order to gain a grasp on intelligence. However, the Necromorphs do not need to gather intelligence, as this is not their end goal. The end goal is to gather bodies to add to their collective mass, so that when the death toll is to the exact, and the makers of the marker have been obtained in the slaughter, the marker will use the influence it has on them and brings them back until they are all within the vicinity of the marker's gravitational reach. The reason I bring up the Flood and their goals is because the Necromorphs act feral, with only hunting down lifeforms to add to the collective mass of dead bodies on their minds. The assumed intelligence is the same as a wild animal would contain, understanding the basics of panels, accessways, or even doors, just enough to sabotage them to aid in their plans. The hivemind, however, holds this same intelligence, and the size of the beast isn't an indicator to how much intelligence one holds. The reason Mercer calls it the hivemind is because he believes it to be the one that controls the Necromorphs, with the creature containing the ability to telepathically communicate with them, a hive mind. all with one directive: the annihilation of other creatures such as humans or Talvalantians or even plant life. The connection between the marker and the hive mind is the same as the rest of the Necromorphs. Imagine a beam of genetic energy traveling from the moon to the marker, and the marker splitting the signal into a field of weaker signals that hold the same abilities but are weaker in tone, that travels towards the hive mind, and through the hive mind goes to the smaller forms, and from those forms into deceased bodies. All Necromorphs are connected to the marker signal, and the clash between the two doesn't exist. And Dr. Kine is asking the questions we would be asking, which is the purpose of a secondary or side character, to ask the questions the audience would be thinking. Moving past the subject of the signal, we come to a shorter one, with the dead space field or the dormancy field. How does it work, you may be asking? Well, the Dead Space games are of no help to answering this question except with the remake, which kind of answers it with Nicole talking about it with the marker signal changes us, recombines us, but there is a dead space in that signal around the marker itself, the eye of the storm. They can't stay in it for long. Now imagine the signal as a field, much like a tornado or a hurricane that swirls around the marker's vicinity. Inside this hypothetical hurricane, there exists the eye of the storm, where the signal doesn't operate. The reason for this could be when convergence comes, the dormancy field renders the necrotized flesh as dormant, allowing the marker to assume full control of the feral consciousness. The signal holds a genetic code that fuels the recombinant life and helps them to move, seeming as when we die, the electrical signals die out too. The marker signal replaces the electrical signal we have, which in turn fuels the Necromorphs, allowing the corpse to move on its own somewhat. So to recap, the signal is its own field that fuels the Necromorphs, allowing them to move and spread, replacing the electrical signals we have coursing through our nervous system. The dormancy field or dead space field is the eye of the storm that doesn't contain this signal, so when a Necromorph travels to it, the marker signal disappears and cannot fuel the Necromorph, and it falls to the ground. Hopefully this video of lore and a theory clears things up and makes sense with how the Necromorphs operate, and that the clash between the marker and the hive mind is non-existent. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, then hit the like button, comment your thoughts below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Sign up to join the British Alliance today by hitting the subscribe button and ringing in the notification bell for all updates, as YouTube doesn't like to notify us when new videos go up, unless the bell has been rung. Check the description for links to my socials and follow me there for more updates on new content as I post regularly there. A special thank you to all of my members for your extra mile support. It certainly does help me in creating new content for everyone else. If you would like to become a member of this channel today, then hit the join button and see which of the free tiers is right for you. And I will see all of you among the cosmos, and be sure to have a good one.